In this lecture, we'll continue discussing how to pre-process text so that we can make it ready for some more sophisticated natural language processing analyses. And there's three things we're going to do in this lecture. First of all, we'll look at stop words, the little words that we might want to get rid of, as we talked about last time. Then we'll talk about tokenizing, and then we'll talk about lemmatizing. I'll explain what those mean in a moment. So let's work with the same EIR document we did before. We'll read it into our EIR text variable. And now let's start by stop words. Now remember our word counts. Some of these common words like and, of, the, they don't really tell us anything other than the text is in English. And this type of analysis might be useful in some applications, but here we want to kind of push further and focus on the more substantive words. So we're going to use the NLTK library, the Natural Language Toolkit, which has a lot of powerful functions, among them to get rid of these common words or stop words that don't have a substantive meaning. NLTK has lots of submodules. We'll use the tokenize functions, more on that in a moment, and stop words submodules in this lecture. The first time you use NLTK, you have to download the corpus, or the body of text. If you don't do that, you'll get a helpful error message that reminds you, and you can look at all the corpora you can download on the NLTK. But for now, we're going to import the stop words and word tokenize and send tokenize functions. And then these downloads, these are just things we need to do once. If you've already downloaded, you'll get as I have, you'll get a message that the package is already up to date. So let's look at the stop words. So the stop words, which is what we imported in English, it's just a list of words. So the type is a list. And what are the elements of this list? Well, the first 20. So these are the types of words that we might want to remove from our analysis. This is in English, but we also can have stop words in LTK in a bunch of different languages as well. Here I'm showing you Spanish and Arabic. So let's hold off on stop words for now. We'll come back to how we can remove them from our text. But before we do that, we need to tokenize. Tokenize is basically splitting. And we saw this already with split. That's a built-in Python function that often is all we need for our analysis. But the NLTK tokenize functions are just a little more robust. So for example, send tokenize splits into a list of sentences. So let's tokenize our EIR text. And so we get the second sentence is a sentence separated by a period. Great. You can also split into words, and in this instance you use word tokenize. And this again should give us similar results to split, but it's just a bit more robust. So before we count the words, let's use regex to drop the digits, punctuations, again the same as we did in the last module. So we'll do our count words function, but we'll tokenize using our little regex expression here. So we have the same words. So how can we drop these from our data frame? Well, we just saw that stop words gave us a list of words. So we have these words in our index. Well, let's just drop them. So I'm going to use our drop function. I want to drop anything from the index, which is an English stop word. And I'm going to ignore, try out, see what happens if you don't have this errors equal ignore. But basically you're going to get an error because some of the stop words are just not found in our index. Okay, great. So now we have counts of more substantive words like emissions project. Maybe there's still some that we might want to exclude, but it's a lot better than it was before. The final processing function I want to focus on is lemmatizing. If you think back to the Brinkley and Starmer paper which you read, they used this in their analysis. And essentially it's grouping words with the same root or stem into a single category. So if you have highways, it's changing it to highway. If you have construction, it's changing it to construct. NLTK has a function for that. It's called border stemmer. So we create a border stemmer object, and then we can see what happens if we stem construction and stem highways. Well, we get the stem, so we can group and treat construct, construction, constructing all as the same thing. Even if we're making up the word, the stemmer takes a decent guess. So if I make up this word, it turns housing elementification, it drops for Asian and tries to create its own stem. So let's add this to our function. Rather than counting words, we're going to count stems. So this is the same function we had in the previous module. The only difference is we're going to convert L word into the stem of L word using this border stemmer which we defined. So what does it give us? So perhaps a little more meaningful in that we're grouping emissions, we're grouping project, projection, projects all into a single category. So sometimes this gives you a better group of words by grouping these relating words. But whether these are more useful, that's a matter for your specific task. So now you can breathe a sigh of relief because we're done with the pre-processing of the text. And in the next module, we're going to turn to how to interpret this text using some techniques. First of all, topic modeling, and then sentiment analysis. But the takeaway message I want to leave you with: before analyzing any text, this type of cleanup and pre-processing, tokenizing, stop word removal, stemming is going to be a large part of your workflow. You also need to convert to lowercase. Perhaps you want to lemmatize the words as well.